welcome everybody. I'm glad you could make it with us today. We're going to be doing this month's ZEISS Conversations with an excellent cinematographer named Eszter Csepeli. Did I get that right? It looks that way.
Csepeli, yeah.
Okay, I will get it. But yeah, so we're going to talk about her work for the next hour or so. If you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat or the Q&A. And then Anna, who's sitting in with us, Anna Schmidt, is my marketing cohort from the LA showroom. And myself, I'm Tony with ZEISS Cinematography over here on the East Coast, based out of New York. We will make sure that Eszter gets a chance to answer your questions. So welcome, Eszter. I'm glad to have you with us. I wanted to talk about a few things. It's been a while since we talked. I think it's been a couple of years now since the tail end of the pandemic when we met all masked up in LA at the convention center when we were back to doing shows there with Cine Gear. But we wanted to catch up with you because there's a couple of movies that you have worked on since then that were really highly regarded, and we were excited to see them. And then we'll have a little bit of a quiet conversation without visuals on the new one that you're doing. So if you could give us a little bit of background, Eszter, on who you are and how you came to cinematography and what you're working on now.
A lot of questions. Thank you for having me, guys. It's I'm really honored. Well, as my name tells, I'm from Hungary, Budapest, and I went to cinematography, well, actually film school here, and I finished quite a while back. I didn't start out as a cinematographer. Originally, I went to law school, and then I decided before, but I finally got into film school after that. And I didn't really shoot anything before I went to film school. I was doing, just the usual thing. I was doing black and white photography during my high school years, and I was developing it for myself. And I just had the love for films, for cinema, especially. And I really didn't think this could be a career for me for a long time, but then I kind of just I decided that I want to go for it, and I applied for film school, and I got in, and that's when my cinematography career basically started. And yeah,
can you share a little bit about what it was like when you were growing up in terms of representation in the industry and kind of the cinematographers that you were looking up to at the time, or how you got inspired to break into this really male-dominated space in the industry?
Well, first of all, I didn't think it through at all. I mean, I didn't really look around to look for female cinematographers. Somehow it just didn't occur to me up until the moment I got accepted to the film school, which is a little bit different. It's a very European style film school. So we only learned cinematography for 5 whole years. And back in those days, they only started it in every 2 or 3rd year. So it was very competitive because they only accepted 8 people. So for me, it wasn't even a reality. I was truly shocked that I was actually accepted. So I didn't really think about all these things. I was just really, really happy that basically my dream came true. And it was, it kind of came into my world during my film school years, that everyone started talking about it, that, oh, it's really great that you are in the school, but the hardest part is just about to begin, especially because you are a woman. I was like, why is it a problem? And looking back now, I actually do feel the lack of like a female cinematographer as a mentor, it would have been, I think, much easier for me. So I did look for mentors. First of all, my main mentor was my so-called class master who was leading us. His name is János Kende, and he is over 80 years now. He shot several big Hungarian movies which got into Cannes, and he won several awards. So he's one of the most established cinematographers in Hungary. And he was very, very supportive of me. And he was very, like, he was like kind of like a father figure for me. So that really, that was really helpful, because he was feeding my, how to say, like, it gave me a lot of self-confidence, basically. So I was fearless. I was really fearless. Sometimes I am shocked how fearless I was, and I wasn't really thinking what I was getting myself into. And then it was the same time when Mátyás Erdély, the cinematographer of Son of Soul, which got the Oscar, foreign Oscar, the film got the foreign Oscar in 2016. He was years ahead of me, but he was also the student of the same teacher, cinematographer János Kende, and he also became my kind of like a teacher for a semester, and because he's so close to my age, and I was fascinated by his work, I did approach him, and he was very supportive as well. He's been very supportive, actually. And then what happened, and that's another phase, when I arrived to LA, I found a mentor for myself again. Actually, the mentor found me, another Hungarian, Gyula Pados, who just shot the last Planet of Apes. And he's the kind of person who made himself to be a true American cinematographer, starting out as a Hungarian cinematographer. So he, in that way, was a big inspiration for me. And luckily, he actually picked up the phone, and we started the conversation a couple of years ago. And he's been very, very helpful ever since. Not just in as a cinematographer, but also like he was giving me advice, like how to approach the American market, because it's so different from the European way of thinking. And he kind of
I was gonna ask that is, do you find the challenges different or more difficult here than in Europe?
It's very interesting. I needed to learn to talk about myself more, okay. Like the branding and self-promotion and it just the networking part and reaching out, that was completely new for me, because somehow Hungary works totally different. It's so small, everybody knows everyone, and it's basically connections made in the pub, after film school. This is how we made films. We had like those 5 pubs where we met and we talked, and that's where we got the jobs. And obviously you can do this in LA, even though LA is much smaller now than I thought it would be in the beginning. So it's not as huge as it seems first, but still it's not Budapest. So I had to relearn this new way of thinking.
And you're currently in Budapest right now, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I got back from LA 4 weeks ago.
Very cool. And I know you've been busy shooting and everything there. And while we're talking about that, I wanted to ask about the HCA and wanted to see if you could tell us about how that got started as your founding member, and the only woman on the board, if I'm correct.
Yes, I have to thank this for János Kende, for my teacher from film school, because a new group. I'm not going to get into politics, but a new group of association was formed a couple of years ago due to political reasons. It's a very nasty story here, and so basically the very best part of cinematographers in Hungary decided that they're going to form a new association, and János Kende invited me to be the one of the founding members, and this is how it happened, and I became one of the only female founding member, but I'm not proud of this. I'm actually ashamed of this, that I'm the only one, and I've been working on with the other members as well to be able to invite more and more female cinematographers, and now we have 2 more members in the association, so that's very good, actually.
Very cool. And can you talk a little bit about just your experience in terms of working with other women on set and women getting hired for different positions in camera, and maybe any mentoring that you've done for other women in the camera department?
Any mentoring? Yes, it's very unofficial,
Mm-hmm.
I try to say it, as much as I can, everywhere I can, that I'm open to it, because I think it's very, very important. So whenever someone approach me, I give them unsolicited advice about how to be a female cinematographer and what are the challenges for that, and prepare them, because sometimes there are challenges which you don't know that these are happening to you because you are a female, and not necessarily because you are a cinematographer, which is really hard to decide, because being a cinematographer in itself, it's a very difficult position. For myself, I try to hire as many female crew members. Obviously, I have much more luck in the United States, because in Hungary it's still, it's kind of hard to find. For example, I don't know any female ACs yet. I know seconds, and sometimes I see sound people, but not too many people in the camera department. So I'm very hoping that this will change a little bit faster than it has been the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I know that there's a lot of organizations that have groups within them that support below the line different voices, diverse voices, and let's hope that does indeed come to Hungary, because we'd like to see more of that, of course. The more it's always been our position, the more diverse the creative group, the better everything's going to be.
And I hope, and luckily there's a demand for it right now, because as probably all of you know, that Budapest basically became a hub for international filmmaking, especially for US. Mm-hmm. And this had a changing wave in the film industry. This is actually how I got my first camera operating job on a big international project, because the DP wanted to work with a female operator, and now it's becoming more and more often that actually productions come up with this demand, and this is also a good thing that this started to happen.
Excellent. So if we can pivot, let's talk about the film that was the more recent one that you did after we last talked at Cinegear, the piece Our Blossom. How did that come to you? How were you approached to work on that film?
I worked I worked with the director on a short film before, and she was a producer on that short film. So basically, that's where our relationship was established, and she got this. It was a little bit. It was post. It was. I wouldn't say post-pandemic because it was actually we were filming during the pandemic, and it was a very sudden opportunity. So we had a very, very small time to prepare for the film. So basically, it is coming from a professional relationship. So she got to know me through that short film, and she brought me on to that project as a DP.
Awesome. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the movie. What's it about? How did you create this work within the storyline to create the looks that you came up with for the film?
It's a romantic drama. It's a genre which I wouldn't necessarily choose for myself, but I wasn't really in a position when I can just like go around and pick from different projects. So I actually grabbed the opportunity to make the best out of the opportunity, and I kind of felt like it had been the biggest challenge of my DP life, because that was the biggest budget movie so far. It is partly a period piece, and it also takes place in the present. It's about a Vietnamese girl who's trying to find her origin, like because during the 70s, since Hungary was a socialist country and Vietnam was a communist country, they were sending Vietnamese students to Hungary to study, but under very strict rules, they weren't allowed to interact with Hungarians. And of course, what happens, a modern Romeo and Juliet story happens. A Hungarian girl and the Vietnamese girl fall in love. They shouldn't have, and the girl gets pregnant. She gets sent home, and the boy tries to go after the girl, but he fails. But there is the fruit of their love in Hungary comes back and trying to find his grandfather. And during that quest, she falls in love with a Hungarian guy. So history repeats itself. And the end is a very heroic, happy ending.
It's absolutely breathtaking. I really appreciated you sharing it so that I could watch it here in the ZEISS Theater. The team here watched it in LA as well, David and Emily. But it was. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say what the favorite looks are, because they're both really interesting, and there's a lot of really interesting shots of the cities that you filmed in. Can you talk a little bit about the locations and what it was like working, with all of these architecture shots, just like really capturing the beauty of the scenery, and can you talk a little bit about that part of the production and what that was like for you? Because you said that this was like a bigger budget than you were used to in the past. You could definitely see here, this is like absolutely gorgeous.
I really enjoyed that part. I don't know if now that you watch, probably you see the difference between the lighting and the words of the two times.
Yeah,
we really wanted the 70s part to look like really like like a romantic adventure drama, and I used much expressive lighting and colors for that, as opposed to the present world. And about the location, I think that's why people like Budapest, because you can find so many different locations there. But it was still a challenge due to the pandemic, actually, because we had the original location where the actual Vietnamese student studied. It was an agricultural university close Budapest. But because of the pandemic, 2 weeks before the shoot, they shut down the location. So we had to look for a new university location, which is big part of the film. And we were devastated, like 2 weeks before the shoot, no location, like the main location is missing. And I remember the afternoon, I was walking home. I was in Budapest. It was early autumn, and I went by another university next to the Danube, which is actually on the Buda side. And I looked up and I was like, okay, this is a socialist realistic building as well. Let's go inside, and I looked at the space, and I was fascinated, and I could already see all the things happening. So I called up the production, and basically, 1 week before the shoot, we got it, and we were able to, prepare the scenes there. But it was tough. Yeah.
Wow. It was tough. Do you have any favorite shots or any favorite memories in terms of what you were most proud of working on this film? I mean, there's just between the two different looks that you created in capturing both of these stories, I'm sure there's a lot.
I love the night scenes in the 70s look.
Yes,
especially the ball and after the ball, when they're running through the corridor and all the corridors, and then and the garden is actually at a very different place. Like finding that garden was also a big quest, and we had, even though it was a bigger budgeted movie, it wasn't a big budget movie at all. So I had to shoot like very effective and very fast. So for example, we had like three different locations at the park, all three of them night shoots. And so we had a very strict plan with my gaffer. We actually went to a place to plan the shoot, to plan where to put the lights. So we were able to move really fast from one location to the other. So there was no improvisation there. We knew exactly where we wanted to put the lights. So it was like clack, 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 clack. Let's do it. Let's move on. And the same thing with the shoots in the university during the night. It was a very, very fast but very planned shoot, and the railway station. I think I'm most proud of the railway station because we did shoot with a moving train. We had like 16 hours for all the scenes, including the nighttime shots. And I don't know if you remember that there is this shot exactly that one. I knew exactly when this it was just before the sun is coming up, and we knew it exactly that we have to be there at whatever 5:45, and we dropped everything and we went there and we put down the camera and like stand there, we have to have this shot. And then we started. I think we finished shooting 9 a.m. in the morning because we still had like a couple of scenes after that. But
wow.
yeah. And it's like things like that. I remember my gaffer on the train. We were on the train, and it was a quite difficult shot because we had like the guy had to be seen in the mirror as like she's in the cabin, and like he's outside running, and everything had to match. But it wasn't, we didn't have so much art department prep to cover everything up. So we knew that like we only have like 10 meters when we can do that, in order not to get the neon signs and everything else into it. And moving train, moving lights, and everything had to match. And I remember my gaffer, I'm afraid. And I said, don't be afraid, we're gonna do it. And we did it.
The fearlessness coming back in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
And like that's when I'm thinking back, like why did I think that I will be able to do this? But we pulled it off. It was great.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I really, really love this story, and it was so much fun to watch it, and it's so incredibly beautiful. I wanted to ask too, I know what you used for the equipment on this film, but for the audience, can you talk about what you use for cameras, lenses? If you want to share anything about the lighting that you used, if you used like different lights you were mentioning, or if you just kind of used the lighting in a different way and it did a different technique. Can you talk a little bit about that? Did you use the same equipment for both setups?
Okay, so I used the ZEISS Supreme lenses, and I'm very, very glad that I used it, but I didn't know them before. And I really would like to say that it was like I did a lot of tests and I chose this because I thought that's the best thing. This is not how it happened. What happened that we had the Alexa LF as like a favor that you could use that camera and large format. And back then in Hungary, I don't know, somehow I don't know, I didn't have that much of a variety of lenses I could have choose. So basically I had those. But now looking back, I think I'm very, very grateful that I was able to use those lenses, because I felt it was a very good base to use it to do two extremely different looks, So it was like a clean slate, like I could color it as I wanted to for my own good do, like, so it wasn't like maybe if I had a different camera, maybe I would have went into the trap to use two different lens set. So all I had left is to be very distinctive in lighting. And I kind of enjoy this because it was limiting, but also freeing. I don't know if
yeah, absolutely. Like putting a limitation on something and getting really specific about exactly what you want is a big part of what you're doing as an artist, right?
Yeah. And sometimes you have this urge that you have to change a lot of things to show things differently. And it's a really, really delicate game. You never know if you're right or not. It's a big responsibility, actually. And at this time, I was satisfied with that. Probably I would like to choose another way next time, just to see how it goes. But that time, I think I'm very happy with my choice. So basically, for the 70s look, I kind of had this. Also, because I told you, I felt like this is a homage, a Romeo and Juliet homage. I had, when I was growing up, I loved Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. You know, I had this image in my, and especially because the character, the girl from the 70s, the young Vietnamese girl, kind of reminded me of Zeffirelli's Juliet. You know that, and I kind of had these like flashes, like memory flashes, and I think it was unconscious first, the choice, but then I got into more and more into the film. I was very like, yeah, I was, I you know, and I studied the lighting, and if you see that it was shot, I think in the 70s, no, in the late 60s. I'm not sure when it was shot, but you know, it was before everyone was using very soft lights. You know, it was very like they were like so brave with the lighting and like backlights, and yes, have that light. There is no like you know, like softy there and softy there, and so it was like, okay, let's do it, like let's be expressive. And I kind of took this idea and made it to my own, with a little bit of twist. So, for example, we did a little bit of minus green into the highlights for the girl every time. Like it's not always obvious, but sometimes you just feel it, or hopefully it's like in the unconscious mind for the viewer when they're watching it, you know. And as opposed to and yes, like you see, I wasn't like, I didn't use too much softening, and it was like very like, you know, the fall offs are and the contrast is quite it's quite there.
Yeah, not a lot of fill. You really are building up the anticipation of this scene.
Yeah, and
by
also,
keeping the single source there. Yeah.
And I think it's a good way to light a drama. You know, you have that big difference. It's like contrasting emotions and elements. You know, I think it's good if you put that into lighting as well. And as opposed to that, the contemporary part is much softer. It goes. I try to you know, emphasize the naturalistic lighting. It doesn't mean that I was lighting a lot there as well, but I tried to look as natural as I could. Yeah, this is so what else?
It's really an excellent. It all comes together and really kind of defines. And when you talk about Zeffirelli, you know, with that one image, my apologies for spelling his name wrong, but thanks to Google for finding it. You can really see the influence that image had on how you built the looks for this film. You really see that come through.
Thank you. I'm relieved then.
Oh, it definitely works. Wanted to move on a little bit. You had a film after that called Quarter that we were talking about a little earlier. Can you give us some of the background of that film?
Well, that's a real fairy tale, actually, because I was on my Fulbright year in the U.S. When the directors found me, actually, especially Kelsey, who's one of the Arnon Manor is the co-director and the producer of the film, and Kelsey is the writer, star, director of the film, and she really wanted for her story, because it's her story, a female eye. So she actually went up to the Women in Media crew list, and that's where she found me. And I actually joined Women in Media because I wanted to meet more female female DPs, you know, so that I didn't think that anything will come out of it. And suddenly, you know, I was just about to end my Fulbright year when I got the call that it wasn't even like that. Okay, we want an interview with you, but we want you to be our DP like right now.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was and you know, it doesn't happen often that you get the script, you love the script, you have perfect chemistry with the directors. We had so much fun putting it together. They gave me so much creative freedom. You know, it was, we were working as we were working on the shot list. Unfortunately, because it is an independent movie, and Arnon is he has his day job in LA as Sony's VFX supervisor. You know, he doesn't have so much time, so we could only film in the weekends. And also we were, you know, we had a lot of named actors on the film, so we had to wait for the actors as well. So it took us more than a year to finish the movie. And now they are in the editing process, and it's close. I think by the end of the year, hopefully it will come out. I'm really hoping, because I can't wait to show it. I think
it's a much different look from what you were discussing on the other film. So talk us through that a little bit.
Well, first of all, it's a comedy, which is also not a genre which I comic, like I always thought of myself as a drama queen, that I'm going to be doing drama films, you know, these very heavy dramas coming from Central Europe, Central Eastern Europe, and all these like very like sad stories there.
Right.
And comedy was a little bit looked down, and actually it was a great surprise for me. First of all, it's not a traditional haha comedy. It's more like a female Woody Allen story, and it's a stream of consciousness story. So there is this girl who's breaking the fourth wall all the time and having these very weird thoughts about her life. And so it actually gave me a lot of opportunity to try out different genres. So for example, here's a short horror sequence. So we had to create a short horror movie there, like for a couple of minutes. And
Nice.
Then, you know, there are flashback scenes, and there are like love scenes, and that's more like the drama part, when she has low blood sugar, and it's going to get into a very she's going to get into a very hallucinating mode. So I think it's going to be much more eclectic. We also used Super 8s for different parts of the movie. So yeah, there will be a lot of things. I think it sounds crazy, but somehow I think there is a coherence in it. Unfortunately, I can't show this to you right now. I'm just telling you to believe me. But it was so much fun. It was so much fun to do it because of that, because I was able to do very, very different things.
That was going to be the question coming out of that, is with so many different looks and so many different genres that you're trying to pull together, how do you keep the through line of how you want to take the characters to the end consistent, or do you let the individual looks stand for themselves?
Well, we had like all the different parts had their own rules, I think. And also there was always a reason to change the look. So hopefully it's not going to be like a life change just because I wanted to do something else, but you know, it will be justified, and you will understand it why it is changing. But it's starting out somehow and it's ending somehow. So in the end, it's going to get back where it started. Well, hopefully, that's what I'm hoping for.
Did you end up for the Super 8 scenes, because those were included? Did you end up shooting everything on film, or was it a mix of different cameras and lens combinations?
Actually, I did shoot on ZEISS, but super speeds.
Okay.
For the rest, yeah, and Alexa Mini and super speeds, because I'm not saying I do love ZEISS lenses, and that was something familiar for me. So I actually, it also wasn't a production where I had a ton of choices, and I knew it's a safe choice in a way. It's good to work on it like for handheld, because I had a lot of handheld work on it. I know I knew the look of it, and I knew the feel of it. It was familiar for me, and I knew it's going to work out for that. So we use that. Sometimes, like we had one or two scenes when we used an Angenia zoom, but there was a reason for that. Mm-hmm. And of course, then there was the ZEISS, the Super 8 part, which was a totally different story.
do tell. Yeah, I'm just curious how that all came together. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the Super 8?
Yeah.
It was. I don't want to give too much away. It's about like a fantasy, love fantasy of the girl with the boy, and it's a fantasy date shoot. Okay. And it's very, very handy because in LA it's extremely difficult to shoot. You have to get, I mean, you need the permit here in Budapest as well. But for example, yesterday we went all guerrilla, even though we were shooting near to a hospital, and I mean in Budapest. I'm not sure if we could get away with that in LA, unless you're shooting on Super 8, because then no one asks you. So it gave me a lot of freedom to show LA in its best. In its best phase. So we got to go to the beach, we got to go to the Venice canals, we got to go up to the hills. So it was actually it was fun doing that.
Yeah, I often say, especially about shooting in New York, as long as you look like you know what you're doing, then they leave you alone. You can get away with a lot. So, and I imagine LA is the same. As long as you're not overt about your setups, then
you have this small camera with you. Like no one's going to. They don't even know what it is now.
Right.
Nowadays. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, what are you working on now? What brings you back to Budapest?
So what brought me back to Budapest was finishing my last feature film, which is a drama, and I've been working on it for almost a year now. Somehow I get these projects when I don't get to shoot 30 consecutive days, but it is because it was a 4-season film. So we started shooting it last summer. Then we shot the main part through October and November, and then we had a couple of one day in December, a couple of days in January, and then these last 2 days, yesterday and the day before, and they are in the middle of editing session now. So that's a drama, and it's very interesting because it's about a woman who is losing her sight due to type 1 diabetes, and it's kind of like it. how do you say, how do you have this expression in English when it hits you home, like hits home, or it's something what you imagine, like if it happened to me. I mean, it's a tragedy for everyone, but if it happens to someone who's actually really using their eye as like as a passion, and for me, that's why it was not only because of that. There's a very interesting mother-son relationship in the story, but for me, it was that why it was a big challenge for me, how to show this this change without being too tacky or without being too obvious, or but still have this have the viewer like feel compassion for the character, that what's happening to her, and yeah, we will see how it went in a year probably. I'm so sorry, I can't. I wish I could show more of that, but we used very. Luckily, the director used to be a DP, so and she is also. So it's a her. So Betty Meyer, she's a first-time director as well, and she used to be a DP, and then she turned into a director. And because of that, the communication with her was so easy, and we kind of understood each other really without words, So hopefully it will come through the film.
Sounds wonderful. No, I'm excited. I actually, as you mentioned in Budapest, I'll be there in a couple of weeks for vacation, so I'm excited to visit the city and see all the places, hopefully that around that you've been shooting. So now I have a good travel log to take with me. I appreciate that. So, those that are watching, if you have any questions, let us know. Raise your hand or shoot us a note in the chat. Happy to turn on your mic so you can ask Eszter directly. So how do you split your time between LA and Hungary? Is it just by as the projects permit, or is there some schedule that keeps you bi-coastal or in that way?
There is no schedule at all. I'm going back to LA in 2 weeks for a shoot. So eventually the goal is to move to LA, but it doesn't happen that often. And hopefully the more and more project I'm doing in LA, it will attract more and more work in the US. So it's totally project based.
Awesome. Anna, do you have any last questions you want to bring in?
Well, I did want to ask you if we'll see you at CineGear, if you'll be in town that soon. You said 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm coming on the 16th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be in Budapest. I think I'm going to be in LA.
Cool.
We will pass in the airport.
Yes.
I guess in terms of genres or like types of projects that you're looking for, do you have kind of like a dream story or a dream genre, something that you've always wanted to shoot that you're looking for in a story, or any like idea you've had, something that you think would be really cool to shoot?
A Western. I would love to shoot a Western.
Cool.
Awesome. That would be great. Well, we'll keep our eyes out for you. I'll let you know if anything pops up.
No, but really anything, and it's not really the genre. It's always the director. Actually, I'm going for that kind of chemistry. I really I think that's what keeps me interested. The conversations what I have. Right now, for example, I'm in a project like it's really like I love that part before we start shooting and we figuring out with the director how and what we're gonna do. It's like one of the most exciting times of making a film.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for spending time. Yeah. Well, thank you for spending time with us. I know it's getting on later in your day over there. Do appreciate your time. Eszter, as always, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you locally and watching the pieces that you're putting together. I'm always excited to see your work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was much less frightening than I thought. So
we're an easy audience. Yes, absolutely. So, and I just wanted to say thank you, Anna, for also helping me host this ZEISS Conversation, and thanks to everybody for joining us for ZEISS Conversations. We'll have another one coming up soon, so make sure to keep watching for those newsletters. Keep in mind that the replays of these talks will be available on YouTube at our ZEISS Lenses Americas channel, and you can contact us directly to come in for a demo anytime you're in LA, and that means you too, Eszter. If you're ever in, just let us know. We'd be happy to have you over at the showroom. Thanks again, everybody, and we will see you again soon. Thanks now.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Eszter. Thanks for joining us.